It's early October, and the odds and favorites to win the Heisman Trophy this year are Oklahoma Sooners quarterback Baker Mayfield and Penn State Nittany Lions running back Saquon Barkley. Oklahoma State Cowboys Mason Rudolph is still hanging around, but another loss would likely knock him out of contention. Our reigning Heisman winner, Lamar Jackson, probably saw his bid to repeat die on Thursday night in Raleigh. So, at this point, it's a two-horse race between Mayfield and Barkley. But what if neither wins it? In fact, what if none of those players win the Heisman? There are still nearly 2 months left to the season, after all, which is plenty of time for a new contender to emerge, and I guarantee you somebody will. But who? That's what I'm trying to figure out in this week's Friday 5. I'm going to rank 5 players who are off to excellent starts this season but aren't receiving much if any Heisman hype, yet could enter the conversation before too long. 5. James Washington, WR, Oklahoma State. There are a couple of big factors working against Washington from the jump. First of all, he's a wide receiver, and history has shown how difficult it is for receivers to win the Heisman. It just doesn't happen all that often. Second, his quarterback is already soaking up a lot of the Heisman attention in Stillwater. But don't get it twisted, Washington is a massive part of Rudolph's success. It's nice to have a receiver continually getting open, and burning defenders deep, and Washington does that with regularity. Through 5 games this season, he's already caught 28 passes for 647 yards, averaging 23.1 yards per reception and 5 touchdowns. If Washington can pick up the touchdown production, he could pick up steam in the race. 4. Luke Falk, QB, Washington State Cougars. I don't know if Washington State is going to stick around as a top 10-ish team all season, but it's currently ranked number 11 in the app poll and is fresh off a big win over Southern California Trojans. He also has significant games against Oregon Ducks, Stanford Cardinal, Utah Utes and Washington left to play, and if Falk continues playing like he has been, and Wazoo keeps winning games, common sense dictates he'll get Heisman hype. Falk plays for a coach and in an offense that leads to eye-bulging numbers. The kind of numbers that get the attention of Heisman voters. Through 5 games he's already thrown for 1,718 yards with 16 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions, and he's done that while completing 75% of his passes. That puts him on pace for 4,123 yards and 38 touchdowns over 12 games. 3. Jalen Hurts, QB, Alabama Crimson Tide. Hurts is in an odd position. You would think he'd get more Heisman consideration because he's the quarterback of the number 1 team in the country, yet he tends not to get a lot of attention. He gets knocked a bit for his ability as a passer, yet he's thrown for 747 yards, 6 touchdowns and no interceptions through 5 games. He's also completing 64% of his passes. Hurts is a capable runner as well, and currently leads Alabama in rushing yards with 461 and has 4 rushing touchdowns. Odds are Alabama's going to keep winning and stay in contention for a playoff berth. As other teams lose games, Hurts' profile will likely rise, and he'll be mentioned more frequently as a Heisman candidate. 2. Bryce Love, RB, Stanford. The fact that Stanford already has 2 losses certainly works against Love. It's not a coincidence that Heisman winners tend to play on winning teams because voters value winning. Still, even if Stanford isn't going to the playoff this season, it's tough to ignore Love's big plays, and voters love those, too. Love is 5 games into the 2017 season, and he's already broken off 7 runs of 50 yards or more. He has 18 rushes of 20 yards or greater. That's 7 more than any other player in the country. San Diego State Aztecs. Rashad Penny has 11. He has 14 rushes of greater than 30 yards. Nobody else has more than 8. He has 9 rushes of 40 yards or more. Nobody else has more than 5. Do you see the point I'm beating you over the head with yet? Bryce Love is big plays, and everybody will love Bryce's big plays. 1. Kelly Bryant, QB, Clemson Tigers. Unless you're a Clemson fan talking to other Clemson fans, how many times have you heard Kelly Bryant's name mentioned in the same sentence as Heisman Trophy? I haven't heard it once, and it boggles my mind how the quarterback on the reigning national champion isn't getting more attention. Particularly when he's playing well, and he's playing for a team that's already beaten 3 teams currently ranked in the top 20. Now, none of this is to say there isn't a reason for it. Bryant has thrown for 1,059 yards and is completing 66% of his passes, but he's only thrown for 3 touchdowns and has 3 interceptions. He's made up for some of that with 7 rushing touchdowns. He needs to pick up the pace on his stats to get serious consideration, but I still think Bryant is going to enter the conversation sooner rather than later. He's the most important player on what might be the best team in the country. Honorable mention Jake Browning, QB, Washington Ryan Finley, QB, NC State Wolfpack Rashard Penny, RB, San Diego State Jonathan Taylor, RB, Wisconsin Badgers Mark Walton, RB, Miami